Now, here is a very touchy topic and quite controversial, and I know Matthew touched on it briefly, but this is quite a popular essay topic. And the basic question is Othello a racist play? So let's just step away from the paragraph for a second, and let's just discuss whether Othello is in fact a racist play. There are so many racist remarks made in Othello. It's very true. Iago, Rodrigo, Brabantio, they all say really terrible things about Othello, connected with his race, connected with the fact that they always use the word black, which, remember, just means not white. So they're not really sure we are not really sure today whether he was meant to be African or perhaps of Arabic descent. But in the end, Othello is, well, not in the end, in the beginning of the play, Othello is seen as valiant, he's seen as righteous, calm, not aggressive, and he's seen as a very good speaker. So those attributes that we've given to us, that Shakespeare's given to Othello, completely refute the idea that the message of the play is racist. While there are racist characters, the way Othello himself is portrayed is far from racist. And some people might question, well, at the end, Othello is shown to be violent, and perhaps this is meant to be a comment on his race. But what leads him to that violence is, in fact, Iago. And it's jealousy. So it's got nothing to do with an innate violence within Othello. So that's quite important to look at when you are looking at the play. So here's an example of a paragraph from this topic. And it says, the point is of this, throughout Othello, there are many racist remarks uttered about the character. The villainous Iago shows his blatant disrespect for Othello by describing him as an old black ram. Rodrigo confirms this racial stereotype by describing Othello as thick lips. Despite these prejudiced and vulgar terms, Othello's reputation is not tarnished, as men like the Duke respect him greatly. The Duke tells Brabantio in Act 1 that if virtue no delighted beauty lack, his son-in-law is far more fair than black. This disproves all prior racist descriptions of Othello, and so the play's message is not one of racism. All right. So what I've done there, again, you can see the point is really split over the beginning and the end of the paragraph. The idea that, yes, there are racist remarks, but it doesn't make the play racist. And then all the evidence lies in the middle of the paragraph. So you don't necessarily have to go point, evidence, explain every time, because it might come off as a little bit repetitive. So you can change how you structure your paragraphs if you would like to. Okay, let's look at another one on that topic. And here's a very good introduction, because introductions are the most important part of your essay. So we're going to look at this, and then I will examine it in detail. So it says, the stereotypes of black people as being savage, violent, and inferior in terms of society are not reinforced in Shakespeare's Othello. That comes directly from the question. Although stereotypes are used, they are done so effectively to create irony, to give Othello a reason for insecurity, and to make Othello's downfall as a tragic hero evident. The stereotypes do not make Othello a racist play. And I want to show you this introduction because it's an excellent, excellent introduction. When you are writing and planning your literary essays, you should actually leave the introduction to last. Don't you agree, Matthew? After that you have done all your hard work and decided where you're going to go, then go back and write the introduction. I know it sounds very back to front, but that is really how you get an effective introduction. And what your introduction needs to do is, first, it needs to somehow mention the question. So it needs to bring parts of the question in. It needs to make a statement. Do you agree or do you not agree? So is it true or is it not true? But now this is the step that most writers leave out. It also needs to outline how you are going to prove that. So if we go back to this introduction, we can see that the bits of yellow are parts of the question. The stereotypes of black people as being savage, violent, inferior in terms of society are not reinforced in Shakespeare's play. If we look at the orange right at the end, this is the agreement or the disagreement. The stereotypes do not make Othello a racist play. And in the middle, what I've underlined is this writer has gone back, looked at their argument, and they've summarized it very briefly. So although stereotypes are used, they are done so effectively to create irony, to give Othello a reason for insecurity, and to make Othello's downfall as a tragic hero evident. So that person has laid out for themselves 3 things. Stereotypes are used to create irony, give Othello a reason for insecurity, and to make his downfall evident. And so this person is actually already given the structure of their essay, because those are now the 3 topics they will discuss in the following paragraphs. And it's really important that you do that in your introduction. Here's another example of a very good introduction. It's on the same topic, so we're getting very used to this topic now. In Othello, Shakespeare, through the character of Othello, is able to defy the racial stereotypes that existed in Elizabethan times. During this period, people of color were associated with savagery and violence. They were believed to be inferior in terms of class and position. While characters such as Brabantio, Rodrigo, and Iago reinforce these stereotypes with their words, Othello is able to combat them with his gentle and valiant nature. Now, this writer has done it the other way around. So you'll see that they've done the outline of what they're going to talk about at the end of the introduction. So they've started with their point. No, it defies racial stereotypes. Then they've mentioned a little part of the question. And then they've said to us, well, this is how I'm going to show you. Because while characters such as Brabantio, Rodrigo, and Iago reinforce the stereotypes with their words, that's going to be one part of their discussion, Othello is able to combat them with his gentle and valiant nature, and that'll be the other part of the discussion. And if you can manage to write an introduction like that, it'll really impress your marker, and it's just a really good footing to start your essay on. But please, you need to do your planning really, really carefully in order to write an introduction like that.